I'd like to thank Mr. Diamond and Ms. Yoakum for having me here to speak to you lovely ladies and gentlemen of SUNY Fredonia. But first, I'd like to say a few words. Hello, I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same, I must be going. La la. For my sake, you must stay. If you should go away, you'd spoil this party I'm throwing. I'll stay a week or two, I'll stay the summer through, but I am telling you, I must be going. Before you go, will you oblige us and tell us what road is going? I'll do anything you say. In fact, I'll even say good. But I must be going. This fact I'll emphasize with stress. I never take a drink unless somebody's buying. The captain is on every woman. If he hears anything obscene, he'll naturally repel it. I hate a dirty joke, I do, unless it's told by someone who knows how to tell it. The captain is on every woman. Hurry, for heaven's calling, the African explorer. Did someone call me Schnorrer? Hurry, hurry, hurry. He went into the jungle where all the monkeys found us. If I stay here, I'll go nuts. Hurry, hurry, hurry. He poured out his reliance in courage and defiance and risked his life for science. Hey, hey! He is the only human to cover every acre. I think I'll try and take her. Hurry, hurry, hurry. He poured out his reliance in courage and defiance and risked his life for science. Hey, hey! Hurry, for Captain's falling, the African explorer. He brought his name on time, he was not his what we say. Hurry, hurry, hurry. My friends, it brings me great pleasure. Hurry, for Captain's falling, the African explorer. He brought his name on time, he was not his what we say. Hurry, hurry, hurry. My friends, it gives me great pleasure to speak as a distinguished alumnus. The African explorer, he brought his name on time, he was not his what we say. Hurry, hurry, hurry. My friends, it brings me great pleasure. Hooray for our Captain's calling, the African explorer. Well, somebody had to do it.
If you told me that I'm a lucky young man, from that moment I know my future began. I'd get busy attending to the happy ending. Let me tell you about my wonderful plan. A little bungalow, an hour or so from anywhere. A little cozy nest, the kind that's best for two. Among the shady trees with birds and bees and lots of air. And just enough of ground to fool around with you. Away from all the crowds, we'll watch the clouds go drifting by. And when the moon above presents a lovely view, there'll be a moon in blue, the one that you would occupy. It's understood that I would occupy it too. If you're anxious to make me part of your plan, I'm quite ready to tell the world that you can. If the plan that you're laying just needs my okay, let anyone try to stop you, young man. A little bungalow, an hour or so from anywhere. A little cozy nest, the kind that's best for two. Among the shady trees with birds and bees and lots of air, and just enough of ground to fool around with you. Away from all the crowds, we'll watch the clouds go drifting by. And when the moon above presents a lovely view, there'll be a room in blue, the one that you would occupy. It's understood that I would occupy it too.
This is a song written by Irving Berlin, performed by Groucho Marx on an episode of You Bet Your Life in 1956 for a contestant named Liberace. And the name of the song is I Love a Piano. I love a piano. I love a piano. I love to hear somebody play upon a piano, a grand piano. It simply carries me away. I know a fine way to see a sine wave. Love to run my fingers over the keys, the ivories, and the pedal. I love to meddle. Paderewski comes this way. I'm so delighted to find invited to hear that long-haired genius play. So you can keep your fiddle and your bow to be a P-I-A-N-O-O-O. I love to stop right beside an upright or a high tone baby band.
Standing on the stage at Engle Lane Theatre in Streator, Illinois, which, for better or worse, has become a showcase for Marx Brothers inspired live community theater since 2015.
A small group of our area performers has been involved in every one of these madcap musical adventures. We survived an auction at Coconut Manor, the disappearance of the Bogarts.
I was a left-handed painter.
And there was also a chilly night or two spent in the Ukraine. And We even broadcast what transpires in the law offices of Flywheel Shyster and Flywheel, Miss Dimple speaking.
Our patrons have truly enjoyed both the humor and the wonderful music associated with these productions. As far as we know, not one piece of fruit has been thrown at the curtain.
Well, none that I can personally recall.
It's okay. When it comes to flying objects towards the stage, we all know how to duck.
Hey everyone, buy a duck!
Well, that didn't take long.
If this is your first time seeing our venue via this production, we welcome you with open arms.
Is that so? How late do you stay open?
Ravelli, it's your line.
What should I say?
Tell them you're not here.
What if they don't believe me?
When you start talking, they'll believe you.
Mr. Ravelli, the audience is looking at you.
I think your shoes are on the wrong feet.
No, these are my feet.
Berlin, you ought to consider donating your brain to medical science. You're certainly not using it.
Hey, who's he calling?
Salt Lake City.
Look, I've got to stay here. But there's no reason you folks out there in YouTube land shouldn't log off until this next musical number blows over.
Everyone says I love you, but just what they say it for I never knew. It's just inviting trouble for the poor sucker who says I love you. Take a pair of rabbits who get stuck on each other and begin to move. And pretty soon you'll find a million more rabbits who say I love you.
When the lion gets feeling frisky and begins to roar, there's another lion who knows just what he's roaring for.
Everyone, no matter who, the folks over 80 and the kid of 2, the captain and the sailor and the rest of the crew says I love you. Everything that ever grew, the goose and the gander and the gosling too, the duck on the water with the fish that we chew says I love you. Everyone says I love you. The cop on the corner and the burglar too. The preacher in the pulpit and the man in the pew says I love you. Everywhere the whole world through, the king in the palace and the president too. The tiger in the jungle and the monkey in the zoo says I love you.
There are only 8 little letters in this phrase you'll find, but they mean a lot more than all the secret words combined.
Everyone says I love you, but just what they say for I never knew. It's just inviting trouble for the poor sucker who says I love you.
Everyone says I love you, but just what they say it for I never knew. It's just inviting trouble for the poor sucker who says I love you. Take a pair of rabbits who get stuck on each other and begin to woo, and pretty soon you'll have a million more rabbits who say I love you. When the lion starts feeling frisky and begins to roar, there's another lion who knows just what he's roaring for. Everything that ever grew,
The geese and the gander and the gosling too. The duck upon the water when he feels that way too says, quack, quack, quack. That's a wise quack. I love you.
Today, Father, is Father's Day, and we're giving you a time. It's not much we know, it's just our way of showing you. We think you're a regular guy. You say that it was nice of us to bother, but it really was a pleasure to fuss. For according to our mother, you're our father. And that's good enough for us. The tie that you got didn't cost such a lot, but we'll give you the same tie next year. You say that it was nice of us to bother, but it really was a pleasure to fuss. They say a child can only have one father, and you are the one for us. Yes, you are the one for us.
On a tree by a river, a little tomtit sang willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And I said to him, Dicky bird, why do you sit singing willow, tit, willow? Is it weakness of intellect, birdie, I cried, or a rather tough worm in your little inside? With a shake of his poor little head he replied, ah, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. He slapped at his chest as he sat on that bough, singing willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And a cold perspiration bespangled his brow. Ah, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. Then he sobbed and he sighed, and a gurgle he gave. Then he plunged himself into the billowy wave, and an echo arose from the suicide's grave. Ah, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. Now I feel just as sure as I'm sure that my name isn't Willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. That was blighted affection that made him exclaim, ah, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow. And if you remain callous and obdurate, I shall perish as he did, and you will know why, though I probably shall not exclaim as I die. Ah, willow, tit, willow, tit, willow.
She was a gal with that fire in her eye, and I passed out when she passed by. I couldn't resist her, I didn't even even try, 'cause you can't argue with love. She was the kind that can love and forget. I knew that love would just lead to regret, but I was the victim the minute we met, 'cause you can't argue with love. Now I knew she wasn't good for me. I knew it right from the start, but her ways were mighty pleasing. And how you gonna reason with your heart? With your heart. Sometimes I think I hear her knocking at my door, and I wanna tell her you don't live here no more. But I take her back just like I did before, 'cause you can't argue with love. I knew she wasn't good for me. I knew it right from the start, but her ways were mighty pleasing. And how you gonna reason with your heart? Sometimes I think I hear her knocking at my door, and I wanna tell her you don't live here no more. But I take her back just like I did before, 'cause you can't argue with love.
According to one of those unverified legends of show business, the cacophony created by dozens of upright pianos all at once, from the songwriters and song pluggers in music publishing offices on West 28th Street between 5th and 6th, sounded like a dissonant symphony performed on tin pans. So, informally at the beginning of the 20th century, and finally officially in 2022, the historical nerve center of the Great American Songbook is known as Tin Pan Alley. Most of the notable names responsible for Marx Brothers music were Tin Pan Alley songwriters. Bert Kalmar, Harry Ruby, Harold Arlen, Yip Harburg, Gus Kahn, and many others, including the arguable king of Tin Pan Alley, Irving Berlin. Berlin is on a very short list of people who can reasonably be called the greatest American songwriter of the 20th century. But he's famous among Marx Brothers fans for not having written a hit song for the Coconuts. Amusing anecdotes about that have fostered a misconception that the songs in the Coconuts are not good. In fact, Berlin wrote a delightful score for the Coconuts, and it's too bad so little of it survives in the movie. I mean, do we care if A Little Bungalow wasn't quite as popular as Alexander's Ragtime? You know what? I'm getting upset. Let's relax for a moment and listen to A Little Bungalow from the 1925 Broadway musical, The Coconuts.
I get busy attending to the happy ending. Let me tell you about my wonderful plan. A little bungalow, an hour or so from anywhere. A little cozy nest, the kind that's best for two. Among the shady trees with birds and bees and lots of air. And just enough of ground to fool around with you. Away from all the crowds, we'll watch the clouds go drifting by. And when the moon above presents a lovely view, there'll be a moon in blue, the one that you would occupy. It's understood that I would occupy it too.
We spend far too little time, trying to wrap our heads around the original Broadway production of The Coconuts. There's a tendency to think we know all about it because of the common wisdom that the movie is a straightforward record of the show. Of course, it isn't. And one of the many differences is that the Coconuts on stage had 14 distinct songs, and not one of them was When My Dreams Come True. The movie has 4 songs, and an awful lot of them are When My Dreams Come True. On Broadway in 1925, Berlin was a bigger deal than George S. Kaufman or the Marx Brothers. But on film in '29, his contribution is almost obliterated. And although there's no reason why the lack of a hit song should bother us, it apparently did bother Berlin. When Coconuts returned to Broadway for a 2-week run in the summer of '26, he shuffled in 4 new songs. The drama page of the New York Daily News showed its appreciation by advising its readers, "Forget about him, he's only a newcomer in the songwriting game." But the old pro could take this kind of ribbing, and he still had a 40-year career ahead of him. Berlin's professional collaboration with the Marxes ended after Coconuts, but they remained friends and occasionally threatened to work together. And Berlin crept into the Groucho repertoire, including I Love a Piano, played on a guitar.
I love a piano. I love a piano. I love to hear somebody play upon a piano, a grand piano. It simply carries me away. I know a fine way to see a sine wave. Love to run my fingers o'er the keys, the ivories.
I Love a Piano was introduced in the Broadway review Stop, Look, Listen. It was 1915, so early in Irving Berlin's epic career that it was only his 18th Broadway show. It was a follow-up to his 1914 review, Watch Your Step! And one of its stars was Joseph Santley, later to co-direct the film version of The Coconuts. Irving Berlin is now so strongly associated with his greatest hits that it's easy to forget how good he was at writing funny songs, despite his own assertion in You're Laughing at Me that humor is death to romance. He was as rhythmically clever as Gershwin, even though he didn't share Gershwin's musical literacy. Berlin couldn't read or write music and could barely play the piano, but he had a profound gift for making up songs. Hundreds and hundreds of songs. One of those songs was Stay Down Here Where You Belong, an anti-war number Berlin wrote in 1914 and later regretted. A combination of real affection for the song and the sentiment, and Berlin's profound discomfort with it, made this a Groucho standard. He was probably familiar with the 1915 recording by Henry Burr.
They're breaking the hearts of mothers, making butchers out of brothers. You'll find more hell up there than there is down below.
One measure of Berlin's unmatched gift as a melodist is how well his songs hold up to stylistic interpretation. Even this one. You'll go a long way to find better songwriters than Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg. Both as a team and with other collaborators, they contributed magnificently to the Great American Songbook. Arlen, like Irving Berlin, the son of a cantor, was in love with jazz. But he had no desire to be a composer. He spent his early career performing as a piano player and as what he believed to be his true calling, a singer and actor. But an accumulation of evidence suggested that he was a musical genius in the wrong job. First, his band's greatest assets were the brilliant orchestrations Arlen had written. Then, after he finally landed a minor role in the Vincent Youmans musical Great Day, he wound up filling in for the rehearsal pianist one day and inadvertently dazzling the company with variations on Youmans' music. Those variations became Arlen's first hit, Get Happy, with a lyric by Ted Koehler. Arlen and Koehler spent the first half of the 30s writing 2 shows a year for the Cotton Club, where their work was interpreted as well as influenced by great artists including Duke Ellington, Ethel Waters, and Cab Calloway. Arlen's bluesy style blossomed during this period, whose eternal classics include Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, I Love a Parade, and Stormy Weather. At the same time, Arlen began composing for Broadway, including his first collaborations with Yip Harburg. Harburg was an Orthodox boy from the Lower East Side who spent his early years gravitating away from his religious upbringing and toward what he called his substitute temple, the theater. But before he was the social conscience of Broadway, he spent the First World War in Uruguay as a journalist and factory worker, and the 1920s owning and operating an electrical appliance company. Throughout these years, he nurtured the songwriting habit he'd developed in school. The Depression sank the electrical company, but Harburg arrived on Broadway in 1932 with the song that would define the era, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime, with music by Jay Gorney. As his work evolved, 2 distinct specialties came into focus. One was whimsical humor and wordplay, with an emphasis on portmanteaus and newly coined words and phrases. The other was social significance. He was ahead of his time in using popular song and musical theater to address racism, misogyny, and economic oppression. He could make serious points with wit and style. Together, Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg wrote the songs for 3 Broadway musicals and several films, including 2 1939 MGM musicals. One was The Wizard of Oz. The other was At the Circus. It's possible that their work on Wizard of Oz was better. But of course, there is still one great classic song from At the Circus, which we all love.
Gosh, the circus is in trouble.
And Margaret Dumont won't give you any money.
What are we gonna do? Let's sing. Two blind lovers, two blind lovers. Do we know what we're doing? Two blind lovers. Don't know what month it is or the time of day. Don't know if we're in Brooklyn or in Mandalay. I only know the sun started to shine the day that I looked into your eyes and you looked into mine. Two blind lovers, babes in the wood. We've got it oh so bad, but isn't it good? We're on a bumpy road, it's true, but heaven is in view for two blind lovers. Two blind lovers, two blind lovers. Do we know what we're doing? Two blind lovers. Don't know from appetite, don't know fish from steak. Don't know if it's a donut or a wedding cake. I only know the sun started to shine the day that I looked into your eyes and you looked into mine. Two blind lovers, babes in the wood. got it oh so bad, but isn't it good? We're on a bumpy road, it's true, but heaven isn't due for two blind loves and one lousy ukulele player.